Phil Hartman was an actor and comedian who's best remembered for his TV show News Radio and being cast on the TV show Saturday Night Live for 8 seasons. In his private life, Phil was married 3 times. His third wife was a former model and aspiring actress named Bryn Omdahl. Bryn put her career on hold to raise their children, while Phil's career skyrocketed. Bryn became insanely jealous of Phil's success and was both verbally and physically abusive toward him, fueled by her drug and alcohol problem. On May 28, 1998, at about 3 a.m., Bryn went into the bedroom she shared with Phil, and while he was sleeping, shot him 3 times, with 2 children in the house. The police were eventually notified and the children removed from the home, but Bryn had barricaded herself in the bedroom with her husband's corpse. After a standoff, police stormed the house, but by the time they reached Bryn, she was dead of a self-inflicted gunshot wound. 21-year-old actress Rebecca Schaefer was best known for her role in the TV sitcom My Sister Sam, and her film career was taking off. An obsessed fan named Robert Bardo hired a private detective to get her home address from the Department of Motor Vehicles. At that time, anyone could do it by filling out a form and paying a small fee. On the morning of July 18, 1989, Bardo went to Rebecca Schaefer's small apartment complex and rang the doorbell with her name on it. She came to the door, talked to him briefly, and politely but firmly told him not to bother her again. This offended Bardo. He consoled himself by heading up to a restaurant and consuming cheesecake and onion rings. Still seething an hour later, he returned to the apartment and rang the bell again. This time when she answered the door, Bardo said, "I forgot to give you this," and shot her 2 times. She was pronounced dead 30 minutes later. Carl Switzer was an actor best remembered for his role as the freckle-faced alfalfa with his trademark cowlick in the Our Gang film series from the 1930s. After becoming an adult, roles for Carl mostly dried up. To make ends meet, he got into breeding and training hunting dogs. In 1959, Carl agreed to train the dog of his longtime friend, Bud Stilts. Carl was out in the wild with the dog, and the dog took off chasing a bear. Stilts wanted either the dog returned or payment for the dog's value. Carl put out flyers and the dog was returned with a $50 finder's reward out of Carl's pocket. Carl thought Stilts should pay it since it was his dog. He and another friend decided to confront Stilts at his home and demand the $50. Stilts produced a gun and a scuffle ensued, resulting in Alfalfa being shot and killed. Gianni Versace was a fashion designer, a socialite, and founder of the fashion house of Versace. His social circle included names like Elton John, Naomi Campbell, and Diana, Princess of Wales. On the morning of July 15, 1997, the 50-year-old Versace exited the gates of his Miami mansion and took a walk up the street to get some magazines. As Versace returned to his home, he was approached by a serial killer, Andrew Cunanan, who shot him in the head at point-blank range on his front steps. It was suspected by law enforcement that they were at least acquainted in the past. Cunanan was located later, taking refuge in a houseboat with a self-inflicted gunshot wound. 10-year-old Judith Barcy was a child actress who appeared in many TV shows, commercials, and feature films, including a part in the lucrative Jaws franchise. At home, Judith had a hellish existence caused by her abusive and violent alcoholic father. He was furious and jealous that the child made more money than he ever could. He would threaten to kill her and her mother, and also himself. At numerous times, the authorities were involved, but the abuse continued. On the morning of July 27, 1988, a neighbor heard gunshots coming from the house followed by smoke. Her father had killed her and her mother, Maria, doused the bodies with gasoline and set them on fire, then turned the gun on himself. Dominique Dunne was the 22-year-old daughter of crime writer Dominique Dunne and an actress best remembered as the older sister in the first Poltergeist film. Dominique was in an abusive relationship with a man named John Sweeney and tried to end the relationship. Sweeney, incensed, drove to Dominique's West Hollywood home on October 30th, 1982, to confront the actress. Inside the home, Dominique was rehearsing lines for a TV show with actor David Packer when Sweeney came pounding at the door. A few minutes later, hearing screams outside, Packer ran out and found Sweeney in the driveway, kneeling over Dominique's limp body. Sweeney said to the police when they arrived, "I killed my girlfriend." She was rushed to the hospital and remained in a coma for 6 days before she was taken off life support on November 4th, 1982. Her official cause of death was strangulation. Sweeney served only 2.5 years for Dominique's murder. Actor Bob Crane started as a disc jockey but became most famous for the 60s sitcom Hogan's Heroes. After the series ended, he starred in The Bob Crane Show, but it wasn't a success, so he resorted to live theater. On the night of June 28, 1978, Bob and his friend John Henry Carpenter had gone clubbing in Scottsdale, Arizona, where Crane was living at the time during his dinner theater tour. When the night was over, Carpenter went to his apartment and Crane went to his, which was a block away. The next day, Crane's actress co-star entered his apartment after he failed to show up for a lunch meeting and found him murdered in his bed. He'd been bludgeoned with a weapon that was never located, and an electrical cord had been tied around his neck. John Henry Carpenter was a suspect, but because of the lack of evidence, no charges were filed at the time. The case was reopened in the 1990s, and a trial in 1994 acquitted Carpenter of murder. Officially, the case is still unsolved. 44-year-old Marvin Gaye was a songwriter, musician, and singer who came to prominence with Motown Records in the 60s and was known as the Prince of Soul, with songs like I Heard It Through the Grapevine and What's Going On. On April 1st, 1984, Gaye was staying at his parents' home in Los Angeles. He was known to have a turbulent relationship with his father, Marvin Sr., and on that day he and his father had a heated argument that turned into a physical fight. Marvin's mother separated the two, and Marvin Jr. retreated to his bedroom. Marvin Sr. then came to the door of his son's room with a .38. He didn't say a word and shot his son. The singer slid to the floor, and his father approached his son and shot him a second time. Marvin Sr. then walked downstairs to the front porch, sat down, and waited for the police to arrive. He was convicted of voluntary manslaughter and was sentenced to 5 years probation.
You heard me.